I'd like to greet everyone that has been following our beautiful show called Freedom in Truth. This is the only Sindisiwe, and I am going to be journeying with you today as I wrap up season 1 of our Freedom in Truth. I've had my own personal experiences. I've had my moments that were very tough. I've had my moments that were very encouraging and life-giving. And somebody may be asking themselves, why was the program or the show called Freedom in Truth? I know that I'll be repeating myself, but when we speak of freedom, we are speaking where a person is free from the inside. In other words, freedom is not when you are out of prison, as in the physical jail, but a jail can exist in a human being while that human being is walking and is not in jail. Now, when we speak of truth, we speak of what enables a person to be outside the jail. The jail can be in different forms. It can be in emotional form, it can be psychological, it can be as a result as well of different experiences that may have caused a lot of pain, a lot of confusion, and hopes kind of dying. And the person, as a result of those experiences, they find themselves locked in the prison of pain, in the prison of giving up, in the prison of being without hope. So freedom in truth, really, its core essence has been, how does truth allow or allows a person to be out of that prison? How does a person experience a life of liberty where they can sleep at night, where they can walk about, do their chores, do their runarounds without having to look at the back of their shoulders all the time? So that has been the essence of freedom in truth. Now, we journeyed with some of the episodes. I think it was the episode before the last one that we did, where we tried to cover some of the aspects that were very painful when COVID-19 started. And we've covered a lot of different shows. And I'm going to just share with you what really were the nuggets for me, or the learning lessons for me in some of the shows that we were able to cover. The one show that we covered was one that journeyed on somebody's life being heavily violated, a show that covered the rape, and the rape that is not a scarcity in this country, but it has become part of the norm. You know, when you're raped, then what? Just go wash yourself and be fine. And the biggest pain in that experience is that the person that we had on studio covered how much for 27 years she was in a cage. For that long a time, she could not tell anybody about what she had gone through. And when we speak of freedom, it was at the time that she was able to begin to speak about, you know, the issue or the matter. It ended being a matter or an issue. It was addressed and confronted for what it is, and that was violation of a very sacred part of a woman. The lesson for me there was, in every circumstance in life, no matter how painful it can be, no matter how much it can invade, no matter how much it can try to devalue who you are, there is someone that is responsible, someone that has always been in the beginning of beginnings. And when that someone, who is God Almighty, is brought to the fore, or in the reality of the violation that we go through or that particular person might have gone through, we know, therefore, that at that particular time, freedom is going to come. You know, the Word of God says, and it's even an ordinary saying that we normally say, that before it becomes bright and there is light, there is always, it always looks like it's darker. Now, many are the darker experiences and lives that many countless millions of people walk around carrying them day in and out, in offices, at home, in the community, because something horrendous happened to them and they have not as yet come to that point of saying, this was a real matter that happened to my life. However, reality is not the same as the truth. And it is when God invades a person's life that though the experience might have been very painful, when he comes in the midst of your matter, he brings nothing else but healing. And he brings that freedom that we are then able to say, you know, I was raped. I went through gender-based violence. It was very painful. It left me with scars, physical scars, where I could not. Our guest could not walk. To this day, our guest cannot walk simply because she experienced gender-based violence that the enemy thought it was going to silence her voice, silence her life. But Jesus was in the matter. Jesus was part of the storm. So what really stood out for me in these two particular stories that looked very much similar, you know, rape as well as gender-based violence, was the reality that says, while the body and the flesh could have been violated, none of these experiences could ever touch the spirit of man. And the power in every human being that is alive is not necessarily in the muscles that we may have, and neither is it in the tininess of the body that somebody may look at and say, because you are tiny, therefore you are powerless. There is a hidden power in the spirit of man, and when that power is ignited, nobody can stand before that human being. And I think for me, that really is what stood out in the lives of the people that went through rape. And I want to encourage the people that may still be in prison because their bodies were violated, that there is still hope for you. If there was hope in the lives of the people that we covered in the show, I strongly believe, and I know that it is just a matter of a step of faith. You know, when you take your front foot to the fore and your other foot remains behind, the progression of your feet is what will ultimately lead you to a point where you are able to face what truly happened. And I can assure you, whether it is rape, whether it is gender-based violence, however the scars may be in the physical body, in the soul of your being, those scars, I know without a shadow of doubt that they do not have and they will never have the power to touch your spirit man. Then we also had a very interesting topic that initially I thought it was not making sense, but later on I think it exposed the depth at which we have failed in some categories. We have failed God. And that was the homeschooling show that we covered. We saw a mother who is a single parent making a decision that she was going to be the teacher, and not only just a teacher, but a teacher who is a mom, a teacher who loves the children, a teacher who has had a journey way before her children could go to a normal school. And I recall that when I was engaging with this lady, it was actually quite touching for me that amongst all the other reasons that they could or she could have had to do the homeschooling, but some of the reasons were linked to experiences in her own life that were so sad that violated the sanctity of her space, that when she looked back, she began to say, what is it that I need to do to make sure that my children are not only getting the best education from me as a mother, but also that I take full accountability as a mother to make sure that they are safe. I recall very well that in our discussion, there was a point where I tried to determine the level at which the homeschooling was done as a result of fear. And I know, and I was glad to hear from her, even post the show, that she began to tell me the journey of her life. And I really went deeper to say how much of this that you are doing is based on just wanting the experience of being a mom, which I can tell you I would fail dismally from a teaching point of view, but from a guidance point of view as a mother, I try my level best, and I do what needs done. But I think it was very comforting to hear this lady confirming to me that she chose homeschooling because of certain truths that she encountered. And out of those truths, the homeschooling decision becomes only a walking in freedom of her own life and ensuring that not only her life but her children as well are experiencing the beauty of having their mother around them, whether schooling is happening in the mall or at the mall, whether schooling is happening wherever she is at that particular time. But I looked at how much she took charge of a matter that many of us, I will frankly say, maybe including myself, that we have really not done very well in that department. And the reason we have not done well is because of the conditions of society and how much society has been diluted, and yet everybody else thinks they are very smart. We're all thinking we're very smart. We're all thinking we're very capable. But when we look at how much mothers must wake up very early in the morning to go and pander, to hustle, not because they want to hustle, but because they have a reality. And the reality is that human beings are alive in the form of their children, and the people that are meant to take care from a financial point of view, they are not available. So the responsibility of women to nurture homes, to nurture children, has been handed over to school teachers. Now imagine one school teacher in a class that is over 30 students or 30 pupils. Where do we think she or he will have the magic to be able to fully mother 30 children at the same time? It is practically not possible. So what are we saying there? It is my prayer that God gives women supernatural ideas that will enable them to be able to generate income, while at the same time, 50% of their time they are with their children, so that they can mother them, so that they can cut the many teachers that are there. There is too many teachers right now that are teaching our children. It is my prayer, as you are watching me right now, to just ask God's mercy, to review your own life as a mother. I'm not going to talk about men, because the homeschooling was an issue that was driven by a woman. And I am a woman as well. And I am saying to ladies out there, It's practically not possible to be a superhuman being. And I know what I'm talking about. At some particular point, we either crash or we burn out. And unfortunately, when we crash emotionally, the very people that we love the most, who is our children, are the first ones to actually experience the turmoil, the jail, outside the freedom. Why do they experience that? It is because we are in a jail. And if we are not experiencing freedom, we cannot give them what we do not have. So it is my prayer that as we are watching this particular comments or statements that I'm making now, that you ask God to give you ideas that will still empower you financially. But the most critical thing that a woman was born to do, it still beats my mind that a woman can carry a human being. And the carrying of that human being ought not to end when that human being is out of your belly. So it is my prayer that God must empower as many women as possible, particularly in the African continent, so that we can go back to our roots. The other day I was saying to somebody, there is nothing as sad as dropping what you are without understanding what you are dropping. So you drop the essence of who you are as a black person, and you don't understand, you don't know why you are dropping what you are dropping. But you are dropping it possibly because circumstances have been engineered such that you are left with no choice but to drop this that is defining you and is giving you power, and you assume another identity where you must be all else on high heels that you are not even comfortable in there. And if somebody were to ask you, why did you drop who you are? What happened to the mother? What happened to the African power and strength that is found in a black woman? Nobody knows. But it has been swallowed in boardrooms, and it does not end just being swallowed in boardrooms. Even in those boardrooms, there is further, there is a whole mindset, a whole ideology that keeps on being pumped in the mind of women, that though we are very smart and you are amongst us, you are not as smart as you are. So it's a journey where you say to yourself, we have lost, we have dumped our children, and we have said to the caregivers, take care of them. But we don't know if that caregiver even knows, or she even has the heart to take care of those children. So what am I saying? I'm saying there is a power that African women have. It's way powerful. That is why we can give birth to 10 children in a lifetime from a single womb. And the Western world will never understand what that is. It's power, an abnormal power, a supernatural power. I'm not advocating that we go and make hundreds of babies, but I'm saying that we have from one womb we can produce, that the number is nothing. We can produce to a whole dozen to half a dozen because we're given supernatural strength. And part of it is to make sure that once those children are out, we're able to take care of them. Don't deny yourself the power. Don't deny yourself the freedom to know the intricacies and the challenges of what your child is going through simply because we are chasing a rand that even doesn't have that much power. Because somebody decided, or both of you decided to have a good time, and children came, and somebody ran away, and you don't know where he is. I'm saying that it is possible, and I know it's possible, to have 50% chasing the rand and the other 50% doing the best that no teacher, no schooling system can ever do, and that is to teach your child. So, and for me, that is where the freedom is at, where we are not concerned that your child will be taught by others. Yes, there will be influences, but there is nothing that beats the teaching of a child, that even when that child is not in your presence, is not in your space, that those teachings you would have drummed into the child's spirit will be with that child wherever that child is. Mothers of Africa, mothers of South Africa, let's ask God to go back so that we can experience from our own lives freedom. And when we are free, we will be able to take our children and journey with them to a place of liberty, a place where they will not be afraid to walk out of their homes because there is so much that is going on. But right now, children are afraid. Parents are afraid, particularly mothers, because of what is going on in this country. Should it really get to where it's at? I don't know. But all I know is that as long as the majority of mankind do not live in the truth, the jail replicates itself. It will want more people to be in jail. And the more we're in jail, the more we're in darkness. And the more we're in darkness, the more we will abdicate our responsibilities. The more we abdicate, it becomes literally a vicious cycle that might take longer to undo. Let's try and do something now while we can do it, before it gets out of hand. I'm back again. Freedom in truth. What a beautiful journey it has been. I love this month of October. I love it deeply, and I know that many people may not understand, but I do understand. It's a very significant month in my life, and I'm just excited. I'm very excited. I cannot wait for what is yet to unfold. Just as we journeyed with Freedom in Truth, or the FIT show starting in August, we're here now, and we're ending season 1 of the show. How profound that we're ending it in October. How deep and how significant it has been for me personally. And I'll share about that some other time. But right now, I'm back on the journey of our first episode with Freedom in Truth. We spoke and we engaged young kids, teenagers, that had gone through a healing process, which I do not believe that it is a once-off. It's not a boom, a bang, and it's done. But we engaged and we listened to their hearts as they were sharing with us what it means to be a child that is coming from divorced parents. I must say that that was one of the most difficult topics that I had to deal with, because I look at myself and I'm thinking how the enemy just likes to brand, and yet he is not the best in branding. I just feel like saying more right there. That the enemy can try to brand who you are, but he is the least experienced in real branding. And I'm saying this because real branding from a freedom point of view does not come from what we have done as failures, and neither do they come on the basis of how much money we have accumulated. But a branding is something that is done before we are conceived in our mother's wombs. So right in that secret place, when we are woven together, there is a branding that no man on earth can ever take it away from from us. So it was a difficult topic, but I learned a few things which I truly believe that I would encourage you to think about it as you are watching this show. The first one is that, let me help you, nobody is perfect, okay? So if you tried marriage 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 10, and none of them worked, darling, you can still have a very nice sip of cool drink or water, whatever the water is, by the beach, wear a cap, put on your sunshades, and say, what a mighty God that I am still alive. So I do want to say that whether I am saying this because I'm trying to feel good myself, I really just don't care. But I'm telling, or I'm sharing with you what made me to walk in liberty. When I discovered that there is no human being that has got authority over my life except my Creator, that when I discovered as well that I do not need human validation to be okay with who I am, even the things that people can look at and they would say, she's a failure here, she did not make it here. Darling, I could not give a hoot. I have never claimed anywhere that I'm perfect, and therefore, even when it came to the issue of divorce, I know that it was difficult, not from my perspective, but from hearing the perspective of the children. You know, sometimes we run too fast. We get disappointed. We are dumped today, and tomorrow some jack rocks up and says, you are the most beautiful thing. And the one that dumped you, you have been wanting to hear these words that you are the most beautiful thing, but you have actually, in essence, not healed. There is still a bit of a prison because you have had soul ties with someone. And before the soul ties have been dealt with, before you cut them, before you sever them, another jack comes in the picture, and the jack or the Mary says, I want to marry you. And there you go. There you go. I think for me, this is what was painful when we listened to hearts, you know, speaking from a level of innocence, a level of purity, a level of being very genuine. Somebody walks into their lives. She is not known. He is not known. She has not earned the trust of these children. He has not earned the trust. And there he is, and there she is, in the midst of their lives. And we, the adults, say, children, see to finish how you mingle and you carry on with life. I think for me that is what was very painful. But I was happy with the fact that we could get that perspective that says, how I wish you could have done it differently, mommy or daddy. How I wish somebody could have at least just consulted me to say, Nana, this is ending, and because it's ending, 1, 2, 3, and 4 is going to happen, and after 1, 2, 3, and 4 is going to happen, I will also tell you when someone comes into my life. The message we got from the kids the last time was that they are never consulted by anybody. It's almost like you are here, see to finish. It can be done better. I think for me the message was we can be slightly sensitive. What is also very true, although the kids could not have said, we told you so. Something has a tendency of happening with these fly-by-nights and quick moving ons. They don't last because the pain would not have been dealt with. Whatever schemes, whatever devices, whatever cleverness of man that comes and destroys that particular marriage when the people in that marriage are quick to carry on with their lives, the truth is that that thing loses the power to be as until death do us part. The other day I journeyed on until death do us part. And I was asking myself what death was being meant in here. Because for me, death is not when you put somebody underground. Death happens when a person is alive, but they are dead because their lifestyles, though hidden, are incongruent with the ways and the morality or the morals of God. So I will tell you that many relationships have failed, many homes have been broken, and people go to the process of divorce. And the process of divorce, Jesus says, this was not in the will of the Father, but because of the wickedness of the heart. Now, that wickedness of the heart, for me, it is not different from death of the spirit of the man or the spirit of the woman. So if you put these two people together, and when they make the vows, they say, until death do us part, I want to help somebody that is at home. If you are in a relationship that is not worth hanging around for, because you stood and you said, until death do us part. If there is no liberty, if there is no excitement in that marriage as we speak, could it be that either yourself or your spouse is already walking in a dead spirit inside of him or herself? But the body looks like he is alive and he has a six-pack and he can still get one or two girls. Oh, you are slender, you are beautiful, but come on, honey, there is nothing that is left. And if there is nothing that is left, then death will do you part. You will part. Death in a marriage will cause people to part while they are still alive. And you are better outside that prison than holding on to something again that the Spirit of God has not revealed. I mean, I'm shocked because as I'm talking about death right now, I am getting this interpretation now, that we walk as though we're alive and yet we are dead. And then when we make the vows and we say, until death do us part, we are thinking, when you put me underground 6 feet, No, darling, it does not mean that. It means that you can be in that relationship and it's a dead relationship. Yes, you've signed, and yes, there are children, but if you are not going to repent and want to work it out together, whether whomsoever in the equation doesn't want to work it out, believe you me, that divorce paper, you will have it in your hand. And I want to encourage you, if you are the moral one, don't feel bad about that piece of paper. In fact, when you have it in your hand, it gives you power, because it is better to be alone than to be in a relationship where you are being killed slowly but surely, and yet you are not even aware of it. Sometimes it gets so bad that people lose identity, where they are being who they are must be defined by a person who himself or herself is long dead, long powerless, but wants to exercise power when he does not have it. So let's not rush. Number one. Number two, let's consider those pumpkins that the Lord gives us. They are beautiful. They ought not to go through what they go through. But issues of life, issues of the heart, wickedness walks in that family and it tears it apart. And before we know it, those children cannot have mom and dad under the same roof. And all I'm saying is, may God grace us. May God grace the people that are young. By the way, I would be not truthful if I can leave this topic without saying to you, there is nothing as beautiful as marriage. Marriage is beautiful, beautiful. So I would encourage you not to hunt for it, but let it unfold. And when it unfolds and you have carried your life correctly, appropriately, according to the word of God, you will enjoy marriage, because it is a beautiful union that God puts two strangers together, and he says, you two strangers, you are going to become one human being. And when that oneness fails, that is when we get a shock. However, not all marriages end in a divorce. It would be a lie to say marriages are not exciting. They are exciting. They are beautiful. Through them, we're able to partner with God and continue the creation of God, where these children must come from, and they continue as well. So it is a beautiful institution that God has created. However, it cannot be at all costs, where freedom and liberty of the inner man is deadened simply because you made vows. You made vows, but they are dead vows. So if they are dead vows, acknowledge that someone here is dead, and you cannot have the living together with the dead under one roof. So that was part of what was our journey with FEET when we spoke to those little ones. And I do know that many parents were not very excited to watch that show, especially the ones that were the so-called aliens. I liked the name. I loved aliens. And the reason I love it is because at some point I was an alien too, so I could identify with aliens. I love life. When you are allowed to experience the different facets of life, and yet at the same time, you are so sound that you say to yourself, how is it possible? It is possible because the identity creator is still fully in charge in my life. And my prayer is that that identity that you were given, it is what will allow you to experience freedom. And no one can unpack that identity. No one can give you that freedom, because this freedom is not an external thing. It is not what you drive. It is not where you stay. It is not the clothes that you put on. But that freedom is something that is sitting from the inner part of who you are. My prayer is, if you're looking for a partner, make sure that God is involved all the way. Get all the confirmations there may be. There is one thing I know about God. He never catches us off guard. He always will confirm. He always does speak. But the problem sometimes is that we rush and we don't really then get to hear or remember what it is that God is saying or is cautioning. There is also another aspect of the show that we covered. It is linked to marriage. It's also linked to the other two topics that we dealt with, and that is the amount of soul ties that we entangle ourselves with and in the journey of life. And at some particular point, one, we don't know much about these soul ties. So if we don't know, we are not walking in freedom, because we have partnered, we have clubbed together with what we ought not to have clubbed together with. So the issue of spiritual, the depth of the spiritual connection that happens when we meet people of the different sex becomes critical in our lives. Sometimes we may find that things are not adding up, and we are wondering why they're not adding up. It is because there was a Mary, a John, a Cindy, a what, in this whole chain. And this whole chain, you can't divorce yourself from it if you are oblivious of the fact that there is what we call soul ties. Now, that is one topic that becomes very tricky. I remember somebody asking me, why would you bring in soul ties into spiritual husbands and spiritual wives? You cannot divorce these aspects. You cannot divorce them because, one, we find ourselves most of the time in relationships. When we spoke of rape, there was a soul tie right there. When we speak of gender-based violence, there was a soul tie right there. When we're speaking of divorce and healing, soul ties right there. So these soul ties, the other person keeps quiet about how far he has gone, let alone the fact that he may be practicing illicit ubumnandi khona la while you are here. So the soul ties are not just on the grounds that the person once had a life or you once had a life, but the soul ties are continuing. If it is not the other person, it might be you yourself, where you are feeling like agekho grand, and because agekho grand, I'm gonna look for somebody grand, but I'll come here. There will be prosperous. I'm not at work. I'm not at home because we're doing prosperous, and yet I'm gonna prosperous. You just know that you are going somewhere, but when you come back, you are not coming back alone. Now, whether you tell the other person or you don't tell the other person, chances are those soul ties are likely to visit you even in your sleep. So what do we have in the sleep? We have relationships. We have a spiritual husband. We have spiritual wives. I don't want to even get to how toxic and how destructive those relationships are. Better the relationship that is a mess during the day, where you can see and you have power and you can control and you can decide that I'm walking away. There is nothing that is vicious as the relationships that only happen when we are asleep. But they don't just come, I want to emphasize this, they do not just come from the air. They are linked in the people that you have encountered in your life. It's very rare to have a soul tie. Let me help you. I am a preacher of the Word of God, and I have had, I think I can even count, I think on 2 occasions when I was still Mrs. So, I had the Spirit coming and presenting itself as this person that I knew. And I said to the Spirit, well, it's not a spirit, it's a human being, and it's a human being that I know. And as this person was doing what legally he was allowed to do it, but in my sleep, I had a knowing that there are things I do not transact at any level when I'm asleep. I will not transact with my body when I'm asleep, and I will not transact even with my finances when I'm asleep. So this is what happens. So the spirit, the person comes, and he looks like someone that I know. But because I sit with God, and I confront every crap along the way, I hit it on like you cannot believe it. Sometimes I ask myself, am I really normal? But I am very normal, and that is why I walk in freedom that or sometimes does beat my very own mind. But because I know the person, this thing, I said to this person, now I'm talking about a dream. This person comes and he says he's busy touching and he's wanting 1, 2, 3. And because I am so heavily guarded by the Holy Trinity, the person did what in the natural, I know they don't like it. And when the person in the dream did that, I said, right there, you stop right there. You are not so and so because of what you have just done. Under normal circumstances, so and so would never get to do this in my presence. Who are you? When I said and I confronted this person who was wanting to have intimacy with me in my sleep, the thing changed from being a human being. It became I don't know what that animal is. I don't know whether it was a dragon. It was a fat, ugly thing. And I said to it, get out of my life. Get out of my space. The thing had come via an image that I know. I do not know whether it came because the image that I knew had opened a gap. I don't know that. But all I'm saying is a spiritual partner will always be attached to the lives that you would have had. So if you are being harassed by that thing, go and look. What is it that we have confronted? There is nothing that is a jail and a prison like when the enemy knows that you know something, but we have chosen to keep quiet about it. You become a slave of that thing. That is why the Bible says, expose the devil and he will bloody flee from you. But what do? We say pray. It does not say pray and the devil will run. It says expose. When you expose a thing, you say you are a thief. When you expose a thing, you say, I have a problem. I have a problem. I was raped. I was violated. It doesn't say go pray. You can pray about it. You can fast. But the Bible, go read the definition of expose. And when you can get the clarity of what it means, then you will be free from being harassed by things that will harass you in your sleep, while there is no need to be harassed. We are advocating on this platform. We have been advocating that there is freedom. There is a word of God that says, who can believe our report? I sit here, sometimes I can be so bold and so strong that when people expect me to cry and to be all, you won't get that from me because I'm very genuine. I cry when I have to, but I have learned as well that the journey of life is all about the wisdom that the world cannot give us. So we have been advocating and we have been saying, when others are silent about the fact that there is freedom, in truth, we are saying that whether they are silent or not, we choose to speak that there is freedom in truth. As I close, our very last show covered a very touchy reality of this country. Too many are the squatter camps that people have to make a living out of. They've got to call them, they've got to experience them as homes. And yet in the physical, are they truly homes? But what about in the inner inside of these people? If in their inner of their inners, in the bellies of their bellies, they are at peace with who they are and where they are finding themselves, I can assure you that they are way better off than you staying in some lonely place where, as COVID-19 proved to all of us where we do not have guarantees. So we covered a sad story about a place that's very close by. But we also covered a story about young talent that is coming from that place. Young talent that is coming from that place. 2 computers, 1 laptop, and there is an internet cafe. Who wants to believe our report? Who wants to believe our report? And this report, whether we want to believe it or we don't want to believe it, the report remains a truthful report. Where there is truth, we will always experience liberty. And when there is liberty, we will be able to pull others who are in the dungeons of darkness of life and say to them, come my brother, come my sister. There is a place where I have found, and I found nothing else but peace that surpasses all understanding. I found a place where when everyone else shuns away, when everyone else, including myself, had given up on myself, I found somebody that had not and will never give up on me. And that's the freedom we've been advocating. I really do hope that you were blessed. I really do hope that in what we covered, you learned. Above all, I think what becomes very relevant is the fact that the show happens to have started when we were in a jazz in the world, and that was COVID-19. We also saw how, leadership emerged as people needed to grapple with the issues of life, to say, here is a new order, here is a new era. I plead that you are not left in 2020. You are not left behind, not even in 2020, but we are not caught up in 2019, when some of us we've transcended beyond 2020. We're already in 2021. Don't ask me what that means. I don't know. But all I'm saying is, what a moment to start this show. And what a moment to end season 1. What is it that you have learned? Above all, as I step down, I do want to let the African continent know that they are the apple of God's eye. I do want the African girl, the African boy, the mama, the man. I do want you guys to know that we have strength that we have not even begun to tap into. And the day we begin to tap into this, it's like it's a thread, it's a small thing. It's like it's such a thin line that when we can cross over that thin line, the world will not be able to understand what happened to us. And that thin line is that freedom. It will be that liberty that only, unfortunately, for those that don't like truth, unfortunately, that thin line will be experienced by the many of us, you and I sitting at home watching. It will be when we are able to embrace truth. And truth is not cheap. Truth is very costly. But when we can transact and get what is life-giving, then we will turn the world upside down. Freedom will turn the world upside down. And when you are free, what a beautiful space. Stay tuned for more updates on the Fit Show and what we will be covering next. I personally cannot wait for the next episode, because I know, once again, that the same ability, the same strength, and the same provision of having been able to run on episode 1 from August up until now. When we begin again with the second one, we will be graced once again to be able to run and cover what needs to be covered so that as many people experience freedom as much as they can. Thank you for having been a part of this journey. Your tuning in has made the show beautiful and a reason for it to be watched. So I do want to take this time to say thank you very much, and may God bless you.